Alright, this video is going to be talking about the Mercedes-Benz 124 chassis 500e. And yes, this is my car right here again. Nothing new on that. But what we've got behind it is, what's this? This is a silver 500e. You've all seen my car plenty of times. This particular car belongs to Sean Clark. He's a Canuck. He's come down from Canada to pay us a visit today and brought his wonderful 500e down. So Sean's here with me and we're going to talk about his car.
Well, mine has some different things on it. For a start, it's actually got the 94 E500 front end on it, which
and your car's a 92, right?
And my car's a 92, so it still has the wide open throttle ECU and everything else.
And it's been facelifted.
And it's been facelifted. This was a period mod at the time, which I really liked and was very popular. I was able to get these out of Connecticut off a car that's being wrecked. So I had to cut back the rubber in behind. It actually does feed some air into the box behind to the air intakes. I know there's the snorkel underneath. Whether it actually does anything or not, it's open for conjecture. But you know, I liked it, and it was popular, so it's kind of representative of what people were doing.
Well, I have it on my car, so that says something.
Smart people do.
That's right.
So
you can't own a 500e without having vented headlight panels.
And in the vein of being a sleeper, I decided to keep the original grille, partly because now it's a little harder to get quality replacement aftermarket ones that I would be happy with, and maybe when I do some other mods or some more paint work, I might change that out. These bumpers were originally black. They were painted in monochrome silver, which I like. And I think I like the car to be all one color, and the back is the same way. Although it's still the 500e rear end. It's just the front that's been changed. The wheels similar to yours.
So I'll just clarify that what Sean's referring to is the impact strips, which on the 92 were black, and he has them painted silver, which if you look at my car, I have the same on mine. Mine are also monochromed, which we're of the same mindset that the monochromed impact strips look much nicer and update the styling look of the car.
So I'm thinking this is a jobber hood, so it's it doesn't fit quite right. So I'm looking for something else, at which time I might modify things. The lights are true 500e lights, the North American ones. So
they're 500e headlights from a 94.
That's right.
Right. So they're 94 because you have the facelift, which is the hood and the headlight upgrade.
And I took the wipers out because they weren't functioning, and I kind of didn't like them at the time. I replaced this when I got this car. It had 300e headlights in it, so I changed a bunch of things at that time, and I've left it without those wipers because I got these.
Right, you wouldn't be able to use the wipers with the way those panels are vented. So
no,
you'd have to do something a little different.
And when I got this, I thought, you know what, I'll just leave them out because
it looks clean without the headlight wipers as well.
And then we have the same wheels as the SL600 wheels.
Yeah, I see that. Sean's running the same wheel setup that I'm running on my car.
They bolt right on, no spacers.
Yeah.
These ones actually came with spacers. The person that had them before ran them with spacers because the clearance is very tight on the front brakes.
Yes, there is very tight clearances.
But it's fine. I prefer it without the spacers on it, and there's controversy over safety and so on. I did get the Silver Arrow brakes with the calipers painted red.
We can barely make that out there.
Yeah,
you can see he's got Brembo stickers on there.
And they are actually manufactured by Brembo, and they're aluminum and cast iron combination. So they are actually manufactured by Brembo, not ATE.
I see.
So, and these are the 334 millimeter rotors on here.
Ah, yes, larger than mine. Yeah, I'm envious.
And I got the drilled rotors. I like the look of it, and you know what, it seems that I'm not tracking this car. So these tires, these Michelins came with it. I find they're a bit loud on the rear, but then I have very wide tires on the rear. I have 285s.
I would agree with you. I had Michelin Pilot Sports on my car. They're great tires in the dry, in the rain, not so great, and they were very noisy. So
so far I've had no problem in the rain, and I did drive it very fast and very bad rainfall in the mountains in BC, and I didn't have any issues where I felt it was unsteady or slipping. I didn't push it as hard as I might normally, but certainly there was nothing to scare me off. You can see how deep the rear ones are with the lip.
Right. So just for clarification, these were the optional SL 600 wheels, the AMG two-piece wheel. They are a true AMG or a true two-piece wheel.
Correct.
18 by 10 in the rear, 25 millimeter offset, and 18 by 8.5 in the front, 25 millimeter offset. So these were optional on the SL. You could get them on the 500, or the SL 500 or the SL 600, but these are an excellent fit for the 500Es. The offset as well as the width of the wheels, they work great. And they look great as well.
I think they look in correct proportion. They don't stick out too much, with the exception that I like these tires. They're 285s. When I have the full tire travel, there is perhaps a tiny bit of rubbing there. I barely noticed it. 275s would take care of that,
sure.
And that would be the correct size for
That's
this
what
car.
I run, is the 275 on mine.
And the Silver Arrow, I have the Silver Arrow brakes in the back, which are actually, when you go and source parts, they're actually SL55.
Are they
calipers?
They're SL55 calipers?
Yeah, they're cross-referenced to the same part.
I'm not sure if the camera can catch that in there. It's kind of dark.
Yeah, and these are cross-drilled 300 millimeter rotors in the back.
Got it. It's definitely a good upgrade on this car, brake-wise, to go with the Silver Arrow setup.
And of course, in keeping with the Porsche heritage, I do have Porsche valve stems.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not catch that there. Okay. So, oh yes.
Previous owner put those on, and I only discovered it when.
Hey, that's a nice upgrade. I like that. It's very subdued. There's no coloring in the Porsche crest there.
And certain forum moderators won't tell you off for having that Porsche crest, right? But,
that's not like you put a colored Porsche crest on the rear trunk lid or something.
No. However, my car does have a couple of things in the back here. It's got let's say the monochrome. And when I bought it, it had the Lorenzer exhaust. It's just the exhaust can. From what I understand, the original owner bought the car and took it immediately to the Lorenzer tuner in Vancouver. I don't know who was licensed to do it at that time, but they put this exhaust on, and it had the Lorenzer wheels, which were only 16-inch wheels.
Right, I remember those.
And they were brightly chromed, which I didn't like, and so.
Now, the one thing I like what they did with the exhaust there is they tucked it up, and they notched the bumper.
And you know, Rick, it doesn't hang down low. The can itself doesn't hang down low. But these are not pipes that come down like this.
Sure.
They are. It's just straight through.
Exactly.
And it hangs really nicely. I'm quite pleased with it. And you know, there's some people who say it's not. You know, purists who say it takes away from the stealth character. But I think it's tasteful, and I like it.
I like tips myself. So. A lot of the problem with these types of exhausts, the Lorenzer and the Rentex, is it's a straight through. The tips come straight off the back of the muffler, and to get the tips to clear your rear bumper, the entire muffler has to sit down really low. And that goes against the initial design of the rear exhaust can for this car, because the exhaust can is tucked upwards, and then the pipes curve and face down towards the ground.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know the original specs of this, Rick. What the part numbers on it are, but it has an adapter that apparently is specific to the 500E. But the hangers and everything on this are exactly right. Nobody's changed them. They haven't been modified. So it was. This particular can was designed to come straight out.
Right.
And I think.
And by tucking it up like that, you minimize your risk of going over speed bumps or steep driveways and having the can rub, which is what happens with most of these if they're not tucked up.
Which my 16 valve with a modified exhaust.
Right. And when they notched the bumper, they did a nice job. They did a kind of little curvature on the notching. I mean, I think that looks good.
I imagine that it cost a fair bit being done by Lawrence or licensed.
Yeah, exactly.
And they also, because I had 2 mods on there, I guess they put a 3rd one on, which is actually the Lawrencer badge, which is quite nice because it's subtle, and a lot of people in North America, I don't think they really know what it is, or not from that era anyway. I don't think there were a lot of those. I may be wrong. And I upgraded the tail lights.
You see that?
For the later ones.
Yeah, the 94, 95 tail lights.
Which I prefer. Personal taste.
I agree. I agree that the smoke lenses up top look better than the amber in the earlier ones.
Now, the thing that really sets this car apart, though, and it's actually in the interior, it has a C-Class modified self-dimming rear view mirror.
Oh yeah. What kind of genius built that for you?
You know, I don't know how many people have that, but I'm the envy of every auto show, I can tell you. And I had to consult with the engineer a lot to make sure it was mounted just properly, but it snapped in nicely. And then I also got this shift knob, which was custom, which I like. I think off a G-Wagon. I think it was originally what it was from.
And the G500 had the shift knob that had the Mercedes star with the V8 logo on it.
And then I think somebody did a custom leather knob made from that. The only other thing I do have a German Halon fire extinguisher in the front there.
Great. Well, let's walk around to the other side and see that the interior on this car is in very good condition.
I can speak about some of the differences between this car and the American cars.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is a Canadian spec car.
It's a Canadian spec car, so it...
Let me come around to the other side.
Speedometer is in
kilometers
per hour, and it's the same pattern as the European ones. There's no extra inner circle with the miles per hour on it. So and the oil pressure is bars, which is probably the same as the American ones. There's little touches where it says unleaded fuel only, and of course we have it in French down here.
That's in French because it's a Canadian market car?
That's right. It's mandated that they must have it in French, and it also in the fuel filler cap too. Inside there's French. Now the shifter knob has a little sticker on it that has a French sticker and an English sticker.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, I was wondering. I was looking at that earlier. I've actually never seen that secondary sticker before. So,
but other than that, it's all North American spec, and it does have daytime running lights. The headlights, taillights. Headlights and taillights are supposed to be on, or at least the headlights. In this case, headlights and taillights are on, and the instrument cluster, which I'm not that keen on because I'm going to blow to the light bulbs, but.
So that's the daytime running light that's required for Canada, right?
That's right.
That's Canadian specific. That's not a requirement for the European spec cars.
No.
Oh, let's get a look at that auto dimming mirror. And of course we're being facetious because I build these auto dimming mirrors, and I built this one for Sean.
I prefer the C-Class one. This one here, it's a little smaller than the others, but I think it's a nice design. It's
one of my earlier generation mirrors that I've since discontinued, so just to let everybody know that I no longer build that style of mirror. So Sean's got one of the few. It's a rarity. It'll be worth a fortune someday.
You need to sign it. So
I'll autograph it. No problem.
So it has the American lighting with the exception that it has some sort of daytime running light module. Not much else I can think of that's really different.
The 500E's got the Sportline seats in it, made by Recaro, of course. We want to mention that. Not everybody knows that the 500E's got the specialized interior, as well as the Sportline steering wheel.
And I have to say this interior is now just 21 years old, and it's held up really well.
Oh, it's in excellent condition.
Maybe you want to have a look in the back here. I can show you the 4-place seating.
Yeah, the 4-place seating.
So,
that's another part of the Sportline interiors. They do away with the 5-place or the 3-place seating in the rear.
These are Recaro seats. If you actually pull the cushion out to get at the convenience module, you'll see it says Recaro underneath.
That's correct.
You know, it does have a bin for storage.
That wood's in beautiful shape as well.
The wood's not too bad shape. You know, this car was pretty low mileage. It's got, well, I got it at 77,000 kilometers 5 years ago, and now it's at 121,000 kilometers. Very comfortable.
Low mileage.
Low mileage.
It's a beautiful color combination, the silver on black.
Traditional Mercedes colored combination. I like the red leather, I have to say.
Red leather. All right, I guess it's time for us to see the motor.
We can see the motor, and my motor's nothing to scream about, but
it's a 500e motor.
It is a 500E
it's always
motor.
worth looking at.
If anybody's seen an SL, this will look really familiar to them. It is the SL 5-liter motor, and it basically has the same snorkels and everything else. A different engine management, gives a little more torque. Still the same horsepower, but more torque. I'd say I've added these intakes, which actually come back into the box here behind the headlights, which then feed the snorkels. The one modification that people like to do is put camber plates on these, which of course we can do. I haven't done it. I do have some. I'm still trying to decide whether to do that or not.
It would only be beneficial if you were going to lower your car an excessive amount, and then you could dial out the negative camber and cut down on excessive tread wear. So.
That was one thing I was thinking of doing was lowering it, and I've rethought that. I don't think I want to. There are problems with some people have encountered problems with lowering the rear, in that or they say they have, that they bought camber arms that don't fit. I don't want to go down that route. Now we have this is normally where the battery would be. Of course, this is the computer for the 500e engine and the anti-skid. So it's, I think in the 500e propaganda you'll hear that they paid so much attention to performance that they put the battery in the trunk to try and distribute weight better. But I really think it's just they just ran out of room. So. But that fits very nicely, very battery shaped.
Well, let's not forget the 400e has the battery in the trunk too there. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something I didn't know. So,
I think since the battery is so large and it is so heavy, that it definitely does help with the weight distribution on the car. Whether or not it was, I don't know. I obviously with the CAN box up there, I mean, you know, as we can see on most 124s, that is where the battery goes. But on the 500e, that's where all the computers go.
And they're better. They're usually better equipped, so they're going to have the extra things. All the 500es are going to have this extra things, especially the ones that came to North America. So they were fully optioned.
And these cars were never designed to have a V8 in them. So of course, what Mercedes did when they decided to do this was they contracted with Porsche to do this, and there was extensive modifications done on this car to get the entire drivetrain of the 500 SL in this car. And
it's a good spot for the electronics too, because you can see this is isolated from the main engine compartment.
Yeah,
right?
so it's isolated from heat, and of course there's the rubber molding all the way around it, so there's going to be minimal water getting down in there as well. Also, this box, if anybody's visited my website where I take apart the box is more or less hermetically sealed. There are rubber gaskets and such, so the electronics are definitely very well sealed and insulated from heat and water.
And one of the problems though with the 500e is they do run very, very hot.
Yes.
You've got 2 fans in the front here. Of course, there's a heat shield on top. They do have ducting from the front that actually goes straight to the engine mounts, because it's so hot that it does tend to make that rubber go hard just from the heat. It dries it out.
I'd like to add to that the 190E, the 300E, the 300TE, and the 300CE all have that same option where they use ducting to run up on the passenger side to provide cool air to the motor mount.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the only
Not the only one. Okay.
500E is not the only one that utilizes that.
But
some people in racing circles will repurpose that ducting and redirect that air to their brake rotors. I've seen that done quite often as well.
Because it's only got to last one race.
Yeah.
So really, there are many things that make this car distinct.
The heritage of it being built by Porsche, or partially built by Porsche. The amount of time that they spent on it is...
And debatably, they may have had a hand in the development. Different people say different things. And
that's true. We'll never know 100% what exactly Porsche's involvement was and how much influence they had on the design of the car.
I do know that the cars were hand-built, and they were moved around in wooden pallets. 18 days to build one, going back and forth between the Porsche factory and the Mercedes factory to be painted, and final assembly. But they also...
Wasn't that double the length of time of a standard production car at that time, a 300E? Wasn't that double?
I would think it's probably more than that, but I don't know. But I do know when I've had some painting touch-ups done, and the body shop guys have been in there and they said, look how much wax is on the inside of these panels. This is very unusual, and you can see how well this has been sealed, and
really?
Extra time was taken to do these things. They said it's not standard. So they had the time to take some extra care. They were craftsmen. The car has a phenomenal cost.
That was $80,000 new, so.
And in Canada, it was the 92 was $108,000.
$108,000
plus 14% tax.
Right. Okay.
So
now I know the production figures for the U.S. The total production figures for 93 or 92, 93, and 94 were 1,505 units. Sean, do you know the number of 500Es that were shipped to Canada?
I've heard a couple of different numbers. I've heard that there were 88
for all 3 model years. Or?
I'm not really sure. That number is, I've heard 18. I think possibly 18 for the 1992.
Wow.
But 92 was the most prolific. So I don't think those numbers are reliable. I've heard a couple sources say 88 for all of them. But judging by the number that are still running around right now, I think that may actually be a low figure.
Yeah, that's hard to say. I know there's a lot of cars that come in from North America into Canada, and of course Canadian importation laws are much laxer than the U.S. laws. So you have cars coming in from Europe and Japan as well. So.
Few from Europe, I would say, but lots from Japan.
Yeah, lots from Japan.
And a lot of AMG coming into, and there's been or there's ones that companies have tuned themselves and they're rebadging, and so but certainly they really did a lot of work on them, and it was a favorite car over there.
Of course, one of the other aspects on the 500E is the extensive body work. The bumpers are unique.
Well, if you look at the bumper here, it comes down, it's even flared out a little bit, and some people like to add a splitter down there now to make it a little more contemporary. But it does come down lower. Of course, you've got the fog lights down here, which are actual fogs.
Yes.
And we have a pencil high beam as well as a low beam high beam here.
Yes.
So that when you're driving down the Autobahn at 150 miles an hour, you're not out driving your lights at night. You'll have 2 sets of high beams. I find these very useful. I really like them. They do illuminate nicely. I use bright white bulbs in here, and I just keep the regular incandescents that came with this, the regular stock ones, because they're a bit yellower, and I find it's a more pleasing light for driving. I think it works better, which is, I guess, a characteristic of fogs.
I think we can capture right here that the bumper, along with what Sean mentioned, the bumper actually comes out to match the flaring of the front fenders, and we can see how much flaring these front fenders have. That's why Sean can run these 18 by 8.5 and 18 by 10-inch wheels on this car with such a high offset because of the extensive flaring. I mean, you can see down the side of the car. Now, the rear is not flared as much as the front, but it is greatly flared. The rocker panels, as well as the side door molding, are also custom for this car to match the flaring of the fenders. So those carry unique part numbers.
These do they really do come out here. It's very subtle, but they do.
I'm trying to capture that. It's hard to say if I can capture
now,
that.
Now, one has to wonder, did they when they assigned the SL chassis or the running gear to this car, did they then modify the bodywork to take it, or did they do this specifically because they wanted certain kinds of tires run on it? As I said, these are SL600 wheels, and they bolt on nicely, and they fit perfectly right underneath the fenders. I would like to know the answer to that as well, because what we're looking at is extensive flaring of the fenders. And this car came with 16 by 8 wheels, 16 inch by 8 inch wheels with a 34 millimeter offset. They were so tucked in under these fenders that they did not need to do this extensive of body work to fit those wheels and tires on this car. It's almost like they designed the body work and for a larger wheel and tire setup, but they never put it on the car. So, you know, we're looking at 18-inch wheels on here that have aggressive offsets. They're very wide. They fit perfectly with no rubbing at all, and that's. I think another thing you want to mention is that people ask me, you know, did you lower this car? This car is sitting stock height. It looks a little high back there. I think it's just the way it's parked.
Yeah, we are parked on an incline here on kind of a dirt driveway, so it's not.
But these are running basically. This chassis is about 0.9 inches lower than a regular 300E, and the car is about this. It's a little bit wider by about the same amount, about an inch wider.
And these cars do use the R129 SLS system, the self-leveling system for the rear of the car, and that could explain why your car is sitting a little higher in the back right now too, as the SLS might be trying to adjust the level of the car since we're on an incline.
Yeah, some people are now taking those systems out, and they're putting the 400E ones in.
For comparison, if we take a look at my car, which is, you know, basically the same. I have the exact same suspension setup as Sean, except that I'm running H&R Sport Springs, which lowers my car approximately 1.5 to 2 inches all the way around. So, and it's not very aggressive either. So you can lower the car a little bit without adversely affecting the camber on these cars. I think my camber in the rear is like -2 degrees of camber, which it's just a little bit out of spec, but it doesn't affect the tread wear.
Mine's running stock, and I'm not having any adverse tread wear on the rear, even with the wider tires. So not that I've noticed so far. You might want to zoom in on your AMG exhaust there. This AMG, isn't it?
Actually, I covered my exhaust on my car in several other videos. My exhaust is custom.
It's tucked up inside and then comes down.
Yeah, it's what I did was I replaced my catalytic converters with a single high-flow MagnaFlow catalytic converter, 3-inch pipe all the way back, no resonator, and a single MagnaFlow muffler tucked up under the bumper in the factory location, and then I have the piping coming down and it's terminated with these tips. So a little bit different than Sean's. I don't have my bumper notched, but my tips are a little bit smaller than his, and because, let's see if we can capture that. You don't really see my muffler. My muffler's tucked up in the regular location. So the only thing that's down low are my tips.
Tips? You might want to...
my tips?
Yeah. I was going to mention something else, but you might want to mention that other people have tried different exhaust combinations, and there was another 500E in Vancouver, and the fellow did replace the cats with high flow cats, not the 2-into-1, but 2 separate ones, and then he took the resonator out. you know, they ended up having to put another bottle in the back there.
The technician just ran out of the way there.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so what we're going to do here is Sean's going to start up his car, and he's going to let us hear what the exhaust sounds like with the Lorenzer rear can on it.
Okay. Go.
It's pretty quiet.
That was 6 grand.
6,000 RPM. I hear your motor more than I hear the exhaust, so it's definitely real quiet. Well, that's what the Lorenzer rear can sounds like on a 500E.